Welcome to FBW Proving Ground. Hi, I'm Bobby the Brain Heenan, right here alongside my broadcast partners as always, Corey Graves and Jim Ross, good old JR. We got a lot of good matches in store tonight, including a big time match between two tag teams that, well, back whenever I was doing this all the time, WCW had the Outsiders and NWO, and the WWF had DX. We saw what happened the first time they met up, and now we get to see what happens in a no disqualification match. That match I cannot wait for.
I gotta tell you, Bobby, I can be right there with you on that one, but there is no match more important than the crowning of the Queen, the newest women's champion in FBW. I am here to say Charlotte will beat Trish right here, right now. That is what's going to happen. Oh my God, Corey, what are you talking about? The match that everybody has waited for a while is Daniel Bryan, Bret Hart, and Kurt Angle for the heavyweight championship in our main event. But right now, we're going to go into our first match. The Brothers of Destruction, Kane and The Undertaker, are taking on the newest unstoppable force in FBW, Rated Red.
Alright, so we have the first match of the evening. It is Rated Red, the team of Edge and Bubba Ray versus the Brothers of Destruction, Kane and The Undertaker. It's going to be crazy. So right off the bat, you see Bubba and Taker start the match off, throwing blows in the center of the ring. Taker ends up getting the advantage and starts throwing blows all over Bubba's body and head. He runs Bubba Ray off the ropes and hits a big boot on him. Immediately after that, he hits the ropes again and drops a leg on him. Nice leg drop, pins him for a 1 count. After that, Undertaker gets up, he tags Kane into the ring. Kane comes in, drops an elbow on Bubba, who is on his hands and knees. Then he gets up, picks Bubba up, hits him with a body slam, then runs the ropes again, trying to hit that elbow drop for a second time, and Bubba moves. He gets up and kicks Kane in the face, who's sitting up at this point, kicks him in the face, puts him back on his back, and starts stomping him in the ring. He then drags Kane by the foot over to his corner where Edge is. He tags Edge in, and Edge starts stomping Kane. They end up isolating Kane for a very big portion of this match, just doing quick tags to keep Kane grounded. He's in there beating him. Kane's on the ground dying, submissions are getting put on him, stomping him all over his body, his legs. They're even isolating parts of Kane's body. After a little while, though, Bubba is in the ring with Kane. He ends up hitting a Bubba bomb on Kane, which is a sit-out full Nelson. Sorry that took me so long. Which is a sit-out full Nelson. And he stands up and looks at the crowd and is like, "You know who I am," addresses the crowd or whatever he's going to say. As soon as he does that, Kane sits up and the audience cheers. Big pop. Kane sits up and looks at Bubba, who sees Kane, and Bubba looks like he's just seen a ghost. He begins getting pelted with hard right hands by Kane before finally Kane hits one of those signature uppercuts, sending Bubba to the ground. Kane tags Undertaker in and then moves towards Edge and brings him in the ring as well. They both get a double choke slam on both men, simultaneously. They're not one choke slamming one guy. Kane's got Edge, Undertaker's got Bubba, and they do a choke slam on him. After that, they both get up, do the throat cut, and signal that it's time to end this match. They pick them up for double tombstone pile drivers. But while they're doing this, you see in the corners of the ring, I would even say until they start getting them up for the tombstone and actually get them up, the camera is focused solely on Kane and The Undertaker and Edge and Bubba. But whenever they get them up to the tombstone, it backs out and you see the Hardy Boys, who have been climbing up and perching themselves on the top ropes for Kane and Undertaker to turn around to see them. Whenever Kane and Undertaker turn around, they hit double drop kicks on both of Rated Red. So they hit the drop kicks to the back of both Bubba Ray and Edge, and it takes all four men to the ground: Bubba, Edge, Kane, and The Undertaker. The bell rings, and then it's ruled a no contest because of the interference. It wasn't on any one people. It was just they interfered on the match and took both teams out. Ruled a no contest. The bell rings. But after the bell rings, the Brothers of Destruction get up. They are furious. And the Hardy Boys line up on opposite sides of the ring beside the ropes. Kane and The Undertaker charge them, and as they do, both Hardys drop, grabbing the top rope with them, low bridging the Brothers of Destruction out of the ring. About this time, Edge and Bubba are getting up all wobbly legged. Both get kicks to the guts, and Twist of Fate. Both of them get one of those. They land right beside each other, center of the ring. The Hardys look at each other. They look down at them. They climb the opposite side of the ring corners, diagonally from each other. Matt hits his leg drop, and Jeff hits a swanton. They roll out of the ring, scramble their way up to the entranceway with their hands held high, and look back as Kane and The Undertaker are just starting to get back up, and like they're on the edge of the ring on the apron at this point, mad looking, and Bubba and Edge are just starting to regain consciousness in the ring, and they're looking really mad at the Hardys, who are standing triumphant at the top of the ring, doing their little Hardy Boys L symbol or whatever it was that both of them did. The Jeff Hardy, you know, that thing, or the V1, either one. That's how that match ends, in a no contest. What's going to happen on Riot Zone after this? You'll have to wait and find out.
JB backstage as always, talking to a man who is the first ever and current heavyweight champion. We are talking to Daniel Bryan. Bryan, you have a triple threat match with Bret Hart and Kurt Angle, two of arguably the greatest of all time. Your thoughts on the upcoming match?
Well, JB, I'm looking to keep this title on my waist. I've worked too hard to get where I am right now. So, Angle, Bret, if you want to take this from me, it will only be if you kill me. As long as my heart is beating, this is mine.
Back to you guys. That was a spectacular match, and the ending I never saw coming. I seen the Hardys come out. Jim, you are absolutely right. I don't mean to cut you off, but you are absolutely right 100%. I did not see the Hardys coming out at all. I did not see any chance of that happening. Blew my mind completely.
And then just the way The Undertaker and Kane reacted afterward, they looked really mad. I wonder what's going to happen on Riot Zone.
Well, guys, I can't predict what's going to happen on Riot Zone, but I can say right now we have a match to go to. It is DDP RKO 2. Diamond Dallas Page versus Randy Orton, the Battle of the Cutters.
All right, match number 2. Diamond Dallas Page facing off against Randy Orton. DDP Orton 2. Right now, right here at the FBW pay-per-view. So immediately, a brawl ensues. They both start throwing punches, kicks, clubs. Eventually, they get to the outside of the ring, and they start going back and forth in front of the announce tables with punches. Just boom, 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 back and forth. Orton goes for an RKO after he gets a nice European uppercut on DDP. His head, he leans back, he's rocked and wobbly. And Randy Orton goes for an RKO, which Page reverses by just tossing him on top of that announce table. Orton rolls off the announce table, and Page picks him up. Whenever DDP picks him up, he brings him out towards the ring, and then tries whipping him into the announce table again. I guess back first, front first, whatever. Just throwing him into that announce table. Orton reverses that and throws Page into the announce table. Now Page is hurting pretty bad, and he's kind of down on a knee. Orton rolls him up on top of that announce table, and when he does, he spins him around where his head and his arms and everything, his upper body is hanging off the table, and he looks like he's going for that DDT, the hanging one, off the announce table on the outside of the arena, or on the outside of the ring. He does hit that DDT. He gets up and starts taunting Page. I mean, really starts saying, "You're the master of the cutter, huh? I stole my move from you, huh? Come on, let's see how tough you are." He picks him up and slams his head off of the ring apron. He rolls into the ring, breaking the ref's count, which is at 8 or 9 at this point, almost counting them out of the match, but Orton breaks that count by rolling in the ring. He gets out, picks DDP up, and smashes his head into the apron again before rolling him into the ring this time. And Orton gets inside the ring, climbs to the top ropes, and does his "I'm so pretty" thing with his arms, the spreading out of his arms, like "love me everyone." But he goes up and he does that. He gets down after that and starts doing that stomp on every part of the exposed body that Randall Keith does. Then he hits him with that nice arching backbreaker before positioning himself to RKO DDP. He's waiting. He's doing the fist pounding on the ground. Page slowly staggers to stand. As he does, Orton goes for it. He moves forward to go for an RKO, and Page's body drops down to the ground, sending Orton back first onto the mat. Page is down on the ground. He just fell out from exhaustion, pretty much. He can barely stand. Orton is really, really pissed off at this point. He goes to a corner, and he goes to that dark spot in his head that he doesn't like going, and he's seething mad, holding those top ropes, breathing, and he's looking for that punt kick, it looks like. Page is completely across the ring near another corner. Orton charges him as soon as he sees Page on his knees. Page ends up rolling back onto his back. Orton kicks the bottom turnbuckle and goes chest or head first into the top and staggers backwards, turns around into, bang, a diamond cutter. He goes down 1, 2, 3. DDP wins, but barely, just barely, by the skin of his teeth.
And now we have a big match that it looks like Bobby's been waiting for since it's been announced. That's right, it's two pillars of tag team stables facing off against each other right here, right now. No disqualification match. DX versus the Outsiders.
All right. So, the two big teams from the Attitude Era, one WCW, one WWF, DX taking on the Outsiders in a no disqualification match after their big meeting on Riot Zone, I suppose. So this match, DX enters first with weapons in hand, weapons in tow. Triple H carrying his sledgehammer and Shawn Michaels carrying a chair. They come out first. The Outsiders are seen entering through the crowd. As they're coming through the crowd, DX leaves the ring, jumps the barricade, and goes to meet them out in the crowd. And they brawl before entering the arena. Triple H and Kevin Nash are the first two to get back inside of the arena. Triple H hits Kevin with a big shot to the head with the sledgehammer, busting Kevin wide open. Scott Hall and Shawn Michaels, meanwhile, are fighting in the crowd still, close to the announce tables, right at the corner of the barricade. Hall throws Shawn Michaels over the barricade and starts to make his way after taking a quick break, rest outside there, puts his hands on the barricade, leans his head down, breathes for a second. While he's doing that, Shawn Michaels gets up on the announce table. Hall climbs over the barricade. Michaels does a big crossbody off the announce table onto Hall on the outside of the ring. Shawn Michaels gets up and cheers, doing the suck it sign to Scott Hall before moving towards him. Over on the other side of the ring, near the entrance ramp, Triple H and Kevin Nash are close to the actual ramp part of it. They're where that metal plating is. Nash hits a big boot on Hunter right outside that, right beside where the entrance ramp starts. And then he puts Hunter between his legs, his head between his legs, to do a jackhammer. It looks like he's going to powerbomb him right there on the outside of the ring. Triple H ends up flipping him, making Nash land on that entrance ramp, that metal entrance ramp there. And both men go to the ground. Triple H falls down. It's just real hard hitting the stuff all the way through. No one's giving an inch at all. So Hall is still over there with Shawn Michaels, throwing him around, bashing his head off of steps, throwing him into the barricade, and then he carries him over to the Spanish announce table and picks him up and does the razor's edge to him through the Spanish announce table. Hunter gets up first out of him and Kevin Nash. Triple H gets up. Then he gets Nash to the ring. He goes around to the other side to check on Shawn, but he finds him there unconscious on the ground. He then gets back into the ring and goes after Kevin Nash. He gets him up, runs him off the ropes, and hits him with a huge spine buster, almost double A-like. Gets up, does a big suck it sign to Kevin Nash before putting Nash between his own legs, head between his own legs, looking for a pedigree. Nash stands up, and in doing so, he throws Triple H over the top rope. Triple H is disposed of on the outside of the ring. Shawn Michaels has been waiting in the corner of the ring, just waiting for his opportunity. After Triple H missed that pedigree when he was trying it on Kevin Nash, and Triple H got thrown to the outside, Michaels saw this moment. Nash looked around and caught a sweet chin music right to the chin for a long 2 count. Then Scott Hall slides into the ring with a chair, the one that Shawn originally brought into this match, carrying it down to ringside. He begins beating Shawn with the chair. Hunter tries to help out, gets in the ring, but when he runs in, he gets caught with a big boot by Kevin Nash, who then consequently picks Hunter up and does a jackknife powerbomb to him for the 1, 2, 3. The Outsiders take it to DX. They're both worn out. The Outsiders then roll out to the outside of the ring, climb the barricade, and leave through the crowd.
And now it's time for the television title match, as Rob Van Dam faces off against AJ Styles.
So, AJ Styles and Rob Van Dam, both world champions, a lot of different places. First time meeting in FBW, apart from their altercation on the 3rd episode of Riot Zone that just came out last week. This is for the FBW TV title. The first ever FBW TV champion, will be crowned right here. So, AJ Styles and Rob Van Dam, both world champions, a lot of different places. First time meeting in FBW, apart from their altercation on the 3rd episode of Riot Zone that just came out last week. This is for the FBW TV title. The first ever FBW TV champion, FBW TV champion will be crowned right here. First, to start the match. Wait a minute. Where's the bell? Where's the bell? There it is. Alright. AJ is in Rob Van Dam's face, talking trash to RVD, just chewing him out, talking about how he's better. RVD gets tired of it, pushes him to the ground, and does his own Rob Van Dam. You know, thumbs pointed in towards himself. I'm a big deal. Rob Van Dam. Anyways, AJ does his pointing out to each side and running off the ropes chest first thing, and then he puts his hands together to show P1 on his gloves. By the way, RVD gets like a huge ovation where AJ gets a meh one, you know. AJ then slaps Rob Van Dam, who starts throwing rapid fire forearms to AJ's face before running him off the ropes. Then he does like the splits, ducks under AJ before monkey flipping him over the top rope to the outside of the ring. RVD then runs off the ropes and is about to do something over the top rope. It looks like a flip, maybe a crossbody over the top rope to the outside. Who knows exactly? But AJ moves, walks away, saying shaking his finger. Rob Van Dam then climbs to the top rope and hits a big flipping dive. Literally, he flips off the top rope. Big flipping senton dive onto AJ on the outside. Gets up. Yeah! Rob Van Dam does his big thing again. He sets AJ up on the barricade, slides in the ring, breaking the ref's 6 count before getting on the apron, doing the Rob Van Dam thing again, and hitting his corkscrew leg drop on AJ, who is draped over the barricade. He gets up after that. He's like, yeah! He turns around. AJ does this awesome thing he used to do all the time in TNA, but he doesn't do it hardly at all anymore. It's like a kip up where he kicks up off the ground. I like to call it a pop-up Hurricane Rana. It's so cool. Check it out if you haven't. Go look it up. Anyways, he does this pop-up Hurricane Rana on Rob Van Dam on the outside. Both men are down as the refs continues to count. 7, 8, 9, and both men slide into the ring simultaneously as that 9 count is being made. Still down. The ref checks them both. Both men are on the ground, breathing heavily. Very tough, very big, tough fought match so far. Hard hitting match. Both men are down on the ground. The ref starts counting. He gets to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and as 6 is counted, both men start stirring and get to the ropes and start pulling themselves up. They stand at 7. AJ throws a phenomenal blitz of punches and kicks at Rob Van Dam before ending with a Pele kick. RVD falls down to his butt, on his butt. AJ then runs off the ropes, hits one of those awesome running, diving forearms onto him, taking him to the ground. He then kips up, and Van Dam is down really close to a corner. AJ walks up to RVD, who pulls AJ's face into the middle rope. AJ's down in the corner, seated at this point. RVD hits a big Van Terminator from a corner on the same line, you know. He hits a big Van Terminator on him. Van Terminator, for all of you watching WWE right now, that's Shane McMahon's big move, the Coast to Coast. That was stolen from Rob Van Dam. It's called the Van Terminator, and he used to use a steel chair to do it, much like Shane uses a trash can. But the Van Terminator. Anyways. Let me see. He hits him with that Van Terminator before going to the top and attempting a big 5-star frog splash. He dives. Shoo shoo. Arms and legs moving like a frog, maneuvering. Very nice. He dives, but AJ rolls out of the way and locks in a calf crusher. Van Dam makes his way and finally gets to a rope, breaking that. AJ gets to the apron. RVD stands up staggering around, really woozy. AJ hits a phenomenal forearm on him and pins him. 1, 2, and Rob Van Dam kicks out somehow, maybe out of instinct, maybe out of pure just wanting to beat this guy, I'm not sure. RVD kicks out. Very long 2 count. AJ then looks around and he knows what he has to do. He gets RVD up and hits him with a big with a big Styles clash. 1, 2, 3. AJ Styles is now the first ever FBW TV champion. So the camera goes backstage and you see a door, and from that door comes Paul Heyman. He's just smiling away. JB comes up to him.
Paul, can I get a word? What's going on in that office? That's Eric Bischoff's office, right?
Paul smiles and walks away. After that, Eric Bischoff indeed does come out of that office. And JB asks him pretty much the same thing. Eric, can I get a word? What happened with you and Paul here in this office? Eric just gives one of those giant cheesy smiles and walks away. JB's left with questions just like us. All right, now we're going on to our next matchup. A big rivalry that has busted loose between Batista and Bobby Lashley. 2 really big guys. Ended up with concussions on, I think it was the 2nd episode of Riot Zone. Moving on now, right here at the pay-per-view, it is Lashley versus Batista once again. So, the match starts, and ding, 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 Batista spears Lashley, right out of the box. Doesn't even stop, just spears him right out of the box. Lashley rolls, holding his stomach, rolls to the outside of the ring. Batista follows. Lashley hits Batista on the outside of the ring as Batista's coming around the corner with his own spear. Batista's rocked, hurting. Oh, maybe his head hit the ground wrong or something, but he is in a really bad way right now. Lashley slides into the ring, breaking the ref's 7 count. This is a normal match. It's not anything special or anything, so the count does still apply. He then takes Batista and heads towards a ring post, but Batista kind of switches it up on him, taking Lashley and throwing his head into the ring post. After Lashley gets up, Batista hits a big clothesline on Lashley and begins gaining momentum, getting the crowd on his side. Then, Dave breaks the ref's count of 8 by rolling back into the ring, and then gets back outside where Lashley is lined up and he doesn't see it. He gets out. Lashley runs towards him trying to spear. Batista moves out of the way and Lashley hits the corner post with his shoulder. Batista rolls Lashley into the ring and then re-enters himself. He runs Lashley off the ropes for a spine buster, but Lashley reverses that into a big DDT. Really difficult move for a big guy like him, but they make it work because they're pros, they're great. He then gets Batista up into a power slam position, but Batista slides off of his back, and old Bob, who's right at this moment holding his shoulder from where he hit that ring post, it's his right shoulder. He hit that ring post at that right shoulder, so he can't really get Dave up on there, and his shoulder gave way. Dave slides off his back. Batista runs Lashley off the ropes, and then he actually hits a big spine buster on him. Then signals for the end, the Batista bomb. Thumbs up, thumbs down, Ultimate Warrior, and shaking on the ropes. He turns around into a Lashley spear. Lashley rolls through like he usually does, but then he goes to a the complete parallel corner that he was just in, lining Batista up for another one. He runs, hits him with another one, rolls through again, lines up the exact same corner he started in, and hits him for that big 3rd spear. He pins Batista.
1, 2, 3. Lashley coming out the victor this time around.
Now we're moving on to by far the most important match on this whole entire card. The Queen, Charlotte Flair, faces off against the champion, Trish Stratus, for the FBW Women's Championship.
All right. So a lot of lead up to this. We had a triple threat between Gail Kim, Charlotte Flair, and Trish Stratus, which Trish Stratus won to become the first world champion, first women's champion. And then on the third episode, we had a fatal four-way match to see who would face off against Trish here at the pay-per-view. And Charlotte ended up winning that match, the match between Lita, between Gail Kim, between Sasha Banks, and between Charlotte Flair. Charlotte wins. So Charlotte is now in the women's championship match here for a small recap. So as this match starts off, hang on, wait. Where the heck is it? Oh, there it is. Okay, we're good. Charlotte gets in Trish's face and starts poking her in the chest, saying, "You're nothing. I'll crush you and lay claim to my throne. I am the queen." Trish slaps Charlotte in the face and says, "Come on then." And Charlotte goes for a big boot, but Trish ducks underneath that big boot and hits Charlotte with a drop kick. They're still close to each other, but after Trish slapped Charlotte, she backed up, being like, "What? You want to go?" And got close to the ropes. And so, when she did this drop kick, she knocked Charlotte out of the ring. Trish then says, "Come on, come on," and does the little finger waving, "Come on," and sits on the rope, opening the ropes for Charlotte. She gets up, walks to the center of the ring, and then struts and woos. Charlotte slides in when Trish's back is facing her. As Trish turns around, Charlotte hits a vicious spear on Trish. She then starts working Trish's leg, doing knee drops to her, leg drops to her, stomping her leg before attempting a figure four leg lock. Trish kicks, that was hard to say. Trish kicks Charlotte off of her. Charlotte immediately turns around and grabs Trish's leg and starts kicking the back of it. Then she drops an elbow on Trish's leg. Then she puts it on the bottom rope and does that Flair knee drop. I love that. Where the person's leg is draped across the bottom rope. The front of her foot is draped across the rope, leaving an exposed knee. Charlotte then jumps on that exposed back of her knee and locks in the figure four. Trish has to scramble. She has to fight. She has to claw, but gets to that rope, breaking the submission. Charlotte's starting to get frustrated because everywhere she turns, Trish doesn't have it's not like she has an answer, but she kicks out. She gets out of whatever Charlotte does. Charlotte's imposing her will on her, but Trish isn't giving up. And it's showing. Charlotte is getting frustrated. Trish crawls to a corner and tries to get to a standing position, pulling herself up on the ropes, using that one good leg. Charlotte gets to the corner and batters her for a second, throwing big heavy shots at her before backing up and trying to spear her shoulder right into Trish Stratus's midsection. But Trish uses the top rope and pops up, and Charlotte goes shoulder first into that corner post. Trish is sitting on the top rope, and Charlotte starts staggering out of the corner. When she does that, she starts holding her shoulder, but she immediately goes on attack again and throws a big forearm to Trish, who gives Charlotte one of her own. Then Trish kicks Charlotte to the ground, but Charlotte's right back up. She bolts to the top, where she hits a huge Spanish fly on Trish Stratus. She then waits for Trish to get up and hits her with a natural selection for a very, very, very long 2 count. I mean, everybody swears up and down it's a 3 count, but the ref confirms it's 2. She then sets Trish up for either another top rope suplex, superplex, or another Spanish fly, but Trish somehow fights out of it. She gets up on the top rope. As Charlotte stands up and turns to face her, she hits a huge cross body off that top rope. But when she does, she hits that leg, that hurt knee smacks the ground. She gets up, holding herself up with all of her strength, waits for Charlotte to get up and hits a huge chick kick. Whenever she hits that chick kick, Charlotte goes down. She didn't catch her with all of it because she's hurting, Either way, she didn't hit Charlotte hard with that hurt leg, or she wasn't able to stand very long on that hurt leg, whichever leg she's using to stand on. So she hits her with a partial chick kick as much as she can manage, but it's not a lot. It staggers Charlotte. She bounces off the ropes, hits another big spear on Trish. Trish, her knee is messed up bad. She can barely stand. Charlotte picks her up, again putting her in the corner, again setting her up top, but this time she throws Trish's arm over her shoulder. She is going for another Spanish fly on Trish Stratus, and she pulls, but as she pulls, Trish throws an elbow. She pulls again, Trish throws another elbow, just keeps throwing elbows all day long, till finally she gets her way out of it. She grabs Charlotte in a side headlock and jumps, spinning off of that top rope, doing a first ever super stratisfaction off the top rope, that big bulldog that she always does running up the ropes. This time they do it from the middle rope, off the top rope. 1, 2, 3. Stratus retains her title. After the match, though, after you're hearing this bell ringing, Charlotte comes in and grabs a steel chair, or Charlotte slides out of the ring, grabs a steel chair, slides in, and starts stabbing it into Trish's leg, into her knee, just stabbing it viciously over and over. Then she takes that chair, wraps it around her leg, and starts stomping it before getting to the top rope and doing a big stomp off the top rope. Referees come in, backstage officials come in, Eric Bischoff even comes out, and all of them work to get Charlotte backstage.
Trish is on the ground hurting really bad right now
As the medical staff takes a look at her. So it goes backstage, and you see Rob Van Dam getting his gear off, relaxing after a very hard-fought loss to AJ Styles. He's just trying to relax. And all of a sudden, the lights turn off. You hear a commotion, you hear a lot of rustling, a lot of people making noises that are associated with, getting beat up. The lights come back on, and when they do, you see this. The Crew, a team of AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Chris Jericho. They have destroyed Rob Van Dam backstage. But why? Hopefully we'll get more answers on this soon. And now it's time for the main event. Guys, are you ready for this? You know I'm ready. JR, it is time for a blockbuster main event. The World Championship is on the line. Can Daniel Bryan keep the title, or will Kurt Angle or Bret Hart earn that coveted championship? There's a lot of things that go into a match. Preparation, time, all these sort of things. And these guys all know how to prepare for a match very, very good. I agree, and I could not wait any longer. Now it is time for this main event. Let's get it on, fellas. All right, so now we are at it, the main event for the pay-per-view event right here. Kurt Angle earning his way into this rematch for the World Championship. We were going to be naming a new #1 contender between Chris Benoit and Kurt Angle. And Bret Hart went to Eric Bischoff and demanded a rematch. He hadn't had his rematch yet. So Eric put him into this match. Bret Hart, Daniel Bryan rematch. And the winner of the Chris Benoit Kurt Angle match went on to fight in this. So now we have Daniel Bryan, Kurt Angle, and Bret Hart in this match. So, right on. As soon as that bell rings, Hart and Angle both attack Daniel Bryan, and they kick him and they stomp him, and then they push him with their boots out of the ring. Right off the bat, immediately. Then they face off. Angle throws the first strike, but Hart catches it and hits his own on Angle. He gets 3 to 4 good shots on Angle, then throws him off the rope and hits a nice hip toss. He then holds his arm after that and begins working Angle's arm before transitioning to a rear chin lock. Angle rolls, knocking Bret Hart off of him, and they stand to face off again. Eye to eye, real close, nose to nose almost. Then, out of nowhere, Daniel Bryan hits the 2 with a double drop kick. Well, bam! 1 foot for each of you. Both men roll to the far outside of the ring, close to the announce tables. Then, Daniel Bryan does a suicide dive to both of them. He gets back in the ring, and both men start standing up, pulling themselves up with the announce table. Bryan runs off the ropes and again dives through the ropes. Both men, though, throw him, like, as he's coming to them with a suicide dive, they just kind of flip him, and he goes back first into the announce table. Both of them move out of the way, but Kurt and Bret at that point continue fighting each other. Bret does a snap suplex to Kurt. Kurt does an overhead belly to belly to Bret. Kurt tries throwing Bret into the ring post, but Bret reverses and throws Angle into the ring post. Then Hart back suplexes Angle onto the apron and then pushes him into the ring. Hart slides in right behind him. They both get into a really good grappling exchange, back and forth with moves, going between one another, constantly working each other. Angle working Bret's leg, Bret working Angle's lower back, before Daniel Bryan makes his way to the top rope and hits Bret, who has Angle locked into a sharpshooter at this point, trying to submit him with a drop kick, sending Bret Hart to the ground. After he hits that big drop kick, he runs to the corner, runs to the corner. Angle is just now getting up. He hits Angle with a running knee. Both Hart and Angle sit up. Daniel Bryan starts hitting him with yes kicks, exchanging between the two. 1, 2, yes, 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 you know. He hits Bret with his big one. Boom, right to the head, the roundhouse. He swings his foot towards Angle, but Angle catches that kick and locks Daniel Bryan into an ankle lock. Bryan starts moving towards the ropes, trying to get there, when Angle does that thing where he just drops down and wraps his leg around his opponent's leg like a python. That's when you see it. Bret Hart is on that middle rope, standing, perched, waiting. He hits Angle with a diving forearm off the top rope. Angle releases the lock. Bret's down. Angle's down. Bryan's down. All three men exhausted. Eventually, they start standing. They get to a nice standing position. They start throwing punches and chops at each other. Bryan's up getting to a standing position before either of the other two. He's at a standing position. He starts throwing kicks. Yes kicks once again. Boom. Hitting both of them with yes kicks. Yes, yes, yes. And he just keeps throwing those kicks. He doesn't throw any more big kicks. He just keeps throwing yes kicks. Hart eventually falls to the ground, rolls to the outside of the ring, while Daniel Bryan moves after hitting all those yes kicks and waits for Angle to stand. As Angle gets to his feet, Daniel runs. Boom! Big running knee. After that, he locks Angle in the label lock. He's pulling on his chin. He's pulling as hard as he can. Tap! Tap! Angle isn't tapping. So Daniel Bryan then starts throwing big crossface blows. Ba-boom! Ba-boom! To Angle's face, hitting him over and over. He locks it back in, and he keeps saying, tap, and pulling. Angle can't move. Angle can't do anything. Kurt ultimately, after holding off as long as possible, taps out. Daniel Bryan wins. He falls to his back, exhausted. Still the FBW Heavyweight Champion.
Alright guys, well that was it, the final match. Daniel Bryan defends successfully his heavyweight championship against Bret Hart and Kurt Angle. It's been a great night of wrestling. I could not agree more, JR. That was a stellar performance by all three of those individuals. Charlotte fought valiantly, but the Queen ultimately could not topple the legend that is Trish Stratus. You know, I'm wondering about this alliance between AJ Styles, Finn Balor, and Chris Jericho. What's going to happen? Are there going to be any consequences for what they've done to Rob Van Dam tonight? All these questions hopefully will be answered on the next episode of Riot Zone. But for tonight, guys, so long from me and the other two knuckleheads here. We'll be talking to you next time on Riot Zone.